So I'm going to hopefully have a art book printed of the paintings I did since March. Starting in early March, I've been in quarantine. My partner is high risk, so I have not yet gone back to work, and we've been pretty much fully isolated since March. During that time, I decided that because I couldn't tattoo and I wasn't doing any commission work, I would work in the limited space I had and do some larger paintings on watercolor paper. For a long time I've done abstract expressionism and the paranoid critical method for finding images within abstract splatter, sort of. And this series kind of was the output of that for the last 6 months during all of this sort of apocalyptic crap that's been happening. When I started out with just one painting. I didn't realize I was going to make a series. I started with Milan, because at that time Italy was sort of the place that was being hit the hardest. And these are all 18 by 24 watercolor paintings on very thick Arches paper. So this was Milan. And I was thinking about, they were talking a lot about the healthcare workers and stuff, so it was sort of on my mind. And this came out of nowhere. I didn't expect to make something this dark. But once it was done, the next thing that happened was that an infectious disease doctor I had met died in Seattle. And so Seattle was the next city that I painted. And I painted most of this without knowing that he had died. I just painted this about Seattle. Again, it's an 18 by 22 watercolor on very thick paper. That one's very thickly layered. The next night I painted this without knowing that Iran had been hit hard. And this, when I woke up, I read a news story. There was a doctor in Tehran who she basically worked up until she dropped. She worked with an IV tube in, and she was infected, and she continued working the entire time. So this was her. This is Tehran, Iran. And at that point, I realized I was doing a series. And I started to address different cities, like Johannesburg, where they were rounding up the homeless and putting them into prisons, confined close together with no protective equipment. And I was trying to avoid being America-centric, because at the time, we weren't doing great, but the whole world was being hit. Japan, when the Princess Cruise landed there, and one of their most loved comedic actors died. This is Tokyo. That was an emotional thing to think about. But then America started to get worse and worse. This is LA. This is the medical ship being sent to LA with some sort of doom following. I believe that was in April, and I was already starting to feel very apocalyptic about things. And then I did some reading. I had been reading about Wuhan in December, and about the ophthalmologist who sounded the alarm in December, and then he was dead. So I started getting more and more emotional about these. The series of those, there's 24 of them, and it culminated with the final piece of 18 by 22 paper I had, or 18 by 24 paper I had in New Orleans here, and I counted along the edge of the baseboard for this the number of infections and the number of deaths in Louisiana to that date, and each mark on this paper is an infection, and each black and brown mark is a death. It took a long time. The counting took a long time. I started to realize, I was working very small, and so I jumped up to 22 by 30. This series, the second series, I think there's only 6 in this series. This is Lansing. There were strikers on strike for the meatpacking company, and there were opposing strikers, anti-mask strikers, happening at the same time. You can see up here. And then there's, of course, a death toll of people from the meatpacking plant. I didn't really paint these with direct imagery in mind. I didn't paint these thinking of a subject. For example, this is Bombay. It's called News from Bombay. So I haven't been directly painting them in response to news stories. I've been painting them and then finding a news story that fits the feeling of the painting. This one's called Skating in New York City. A skateboarder was beaten up by some police, and I painted this without knowing about that news story, and then found the news story to fit it. This one, of course, I feel like this is one of my least favorites, but it seems like a lot of the viewers of these like this one the best of the larger series. This is Portland, Oregon. I feel like these have come out of the collective unconscious. They're not something that I planned, read about, and then planned a painting of, and then created. They're pieces of art that I let come through me. And so here we are, it's September. Things have only gotten worse, in the United States at least, where I am. And so I feel like I need to do something with these paintings. I cannot have a gallery show. I can't be at a gallery opening. My partner is still high risk. Cases are higher here than they were when I started this series. Infection rates are higher. It's just gotten worse. And so we can't go anywhere. I can't leave. I can't risk bringing this home. It will kill him. So in lieu of a gallery or a physical place to go see these all at once, because I wanted them displayed all together. I didn't want them to be separated up and sold individually and never seen as a group. I've decided to do a book, an art book, a coffee table book of the paintings. And it should be, I believe it's an 11 by 14 or 12 by 16 hardcover, matte finish, good thick paper, lay flat book. The production costs for it are going to be pretty high because it's a art book. It's a lay flat. It's a nice printed book. Each page will have a painting, and across from the painting will have an explanation of related news stories, quotes from public figures, my feelings, my explanation of the piece, and an analysis of it written by another artist. I've got some collaborators already who are willing to write. They're global collaborators. I have artists from more than just the United States. Some from the cities these were painted about. So they'll be writing their own interpretation of these along with mine, and then we'll have a nice big book. To do this, because I'm broke, I'm a starving artist who hasn't worked since March, I'm running this Kickstarter. And along with the book, I'm going to do full-sized prints. They will be the size of the original. Those are available as one of the reward tiers. There will be smaller prints that are 11 by 14 available. And then I'm also going to add the originals. So if you are one of the higher tier backers, you will get one of these exact paintings that I've just been touching, or one of the others from the series. The first come, first served. You pick your painting, if whoever's the first. Only 2 are spoken for so far, so you'll have your choice. And then whoever wants to be a gigantic backer and back nearly half of the cost of this project, I have some 36 by 50, which is twice the size of these. It's more than twice the size of these. 36 by 50 sheets of this same paper, and I'm willing to do a live stream painting, start to finish, of an original. Because so many things have happened since I started doing this series. Their focus has changed. It's gone from just coronavirus to the protests, to deaths, to police brutality, and COVID, and wildfires, and tornadoes, and dairy shows, and I feel like there has been so much that's happened that I've expressed through these that I have the room on a 36 by 50 sheet to do maybe 1 or 2 summary paintings. Now, because I'm going to be doing those as part of this series, I think that I'll be offering everybody who backs more than the book. In other words, if you're buying a reward that's more than just the book, like a book and a print, or a print and something, I'm going to end up later following up and sending a smaller print, of course not a 36 by 50 print, but a smaller print of those finished large originals to only the people who have backed this project. There won't be any other prints made of those large paintings. The original will be the only thing for sale, and then higher level backers will get 1 print of one of those, just to kind of sum up the book itself. They won't even be included in the book. They're the end of this series. So that lighthearted, happy intro is why I'm making this book, and it's the explanation of my Kickstarter. So I know my last book was very happy-go-lucky, the horror coloring book, and it was sort of I know my video for that and my discussion of that, I was able to be a lot more upbeat, because we weren't living through very hellish times then, and it was literally artwork I really enjoyed making, that sort of was humorous and scary but humorous. But this is real life scary, and there's really no way to express that in an upbeat manner. I know that it's very hard to sell art that is downbeat. Luckily I've used bright colors, but I don't know. This is a doomer project, and I'm expressing my feelings about doom through it with an expressionist viewpoint. So if you would like to partake of the doom and own some of the art created during the fall, over the last 6 months, then I would suggest that you back me. And even if you can't, buy an original or do thousands of dollars and get, some new thing painted, if you just want the book, if you just want a print, there are lower levels of support for that. And if you can't even afford that, sharing this link, spreading the word, and helping me out will help a great deal. And there will be images of all of these online that you can look at and enjoy. There will be small prints of each individual part of this series available online at a later date. There won't be any full-size prints available outside of this Kickstarter. If this Kickstarter doesn't go through, there will not be a book. There will be no 36 by 50 paintings, and I don't know what I will do with these originals. I may not sell them. So if you would like one of these, if you would like a full-size print, you really want this Kickstarter to get going. And that's it. That's my sell. So hopefully we can reach our goal by November. The goal covers printing, distributing, shipping, and scanning and editing costs for the book. as well as scanning and printing costs, along with shipping and distribution costs for the full-size prints. Yeah, and that's it. It should cover all that. I don't know how much leeway I've got. I left myself a little bit of financial leeway, but as I learned last time, if I don't do that, I'm going to be spending money out of my pocket to fulfill all the rewards, and I can't afford to do that this time. So it's really important that I reach the Kickstarter goal and manage to pay for the entire thing with the Kickstarter. So, yeah, back my project, share it. I can't afford promotion, so if you want to give me free promotion, I will love you forever. And that's about it. I'll see you soon. I'll see you next time I do a live stream painting.